Welcome to another episode of Dr. James Beckett Sports Card Insights. I normally try to do timeless, evergreen episodes that are good for any day that you may want to listen. This today, tomorrow, next week, next month, next year even. A little bit of an exception today. Just got back last night from the National Sports Collectors Convention, the 40th annual. I've been to all of them, as I said, and this is one of the best ones. It really was terrific attendance and sales from all the dealers I talked to. We're very, very pleased. Chicago's a great venue. It's convenient for anybody flying in. It's actually convenient for driving in from the Midwest as well. So it was an excellent show. Hats off to Dan Burkus, John Brogy, the whole team that puts that together. Also, remiss to not give a shout out to Jeff Rosenberg, the founder and CEO of TriStar. Did a terrific job on the autograph guests. They really keep that rolling and make it such that people can get their autographs, but they can also be at the show and go back and forth. And they run it very well. Jeff said it was uneventful in a wonderful way. No big problems and lots of lines that worked their way through, and people got about their business with the stuff that they wanted. So he's got that down, and again, did a great job. Touch base on some level with all of our sponsors. Recorded future episodes with three of them, so you'll have that to look forward to. Had meals with three of them, some medium-sized dinners, were little roundtable discussions. Got some good feedback. Got a lot of positive feedback on the length. The 15 minutes or less it was very affirmed. Conversational style, people like that. I'm a former professor. I don't want to be professorial. I want to have conversations, and occasionally I want to kind of go give comments on a certain issue or play or whatever. I talked to other podcasters out there. There's some great podcasts in our industry. Again, they do it a little bit differently. I was realizing I'm doing 12 to 15 minutes a day, 5 days a week, and they're doing an hour to 2 hours every week in some cases. So it's a similar amount of content in some ways, but I'm segmenting this and kind of imposing a discipline on it to try to hold the line on the comments so that you don't have to figure out. You just look at the episode description and say that sounds interesting or not. So again, other podcasters doing a great job. Encourage you to listen to those as well. I did talk to several people who had been mentioned in some of the previous podcasts that have been released, and people always like being mentioned. And I will say this, and we're positive tones, so in most cases we're really talking about some great people that they like the tribute issues or episodes. Again, those were mainly Rich and I talking about some of our brothers who have passed away, and they're worthy of tribute and remembering, and we have some great memories for those. So people like that. Rich was also saying that when he talks to people, they either have heard about it or they haven't. If they haven't, if they're not a podcast person or they haven't heard about it, then they say, well, maybe I'll look into that. On the other hand, of the people that we talk to that are listeners, he said, we don't have quantity of listeners yet, and maybe that's not to be expected because we're still new in our first month, but we are getting a great quality of listeners. So if you're listening to this, again, thank you for your honoring us with your listening. I have released 19 episodes, tried to cover a variety of topics to give a chance to get feedback so that we can figure out what do we want to do more of. If I've got 5 episodes a week and 52 weeks, that's I may take a vacation, who knows, but because after all I am retired or semi-retired. But if I have 250 episodes a year, I've got a lot of airtime to fill up. But again, I got great response at the national. In spite of the busyness of the sales, people would took a 15-minute time out to record an episode, and that was great. So let's see if you're not a podcast listener or you're a new podcast listener, there are people that have asked me about that. If you go on iTunes or probably even just Google the podcast, it's Dr. James Beckett Sports Card Insights. I think it'll send you to a place where you can just listen right there, or a website. Podbean, which is my podcast hosting service that I use, just has a website for me at beckettinsights.podbean.com. And that's podbean.com. So you could go there. They've got a player right there. You could just press a button, or you can share it or upload it. So, but most people are going to go to iTunes or wherever they get their podcasts. And I was telling one guy who doesn't listen to podcasts, I said, I'm not a fast talker. And so you can listen. Most of the podcast apps, I think maybe all of them, have variable speed listening. Now, you wouldn't slow it down, but you could speed it up. Many of them have 1.25, 1.5, or double speed. Double speed, I listen to a lot of audiobooks. And it's not chipmunking your voice. It's basically taking out some of the space between the words, which I have and everybody has. And so, that 15 minutes can turn into 10. So give it a try. Tell your friends we are enjoying doing this, whether it's a small listenership or a larger listenership. There are some people that I really respect, enjoy, and like who are listening, and that's not just family. But and if you want to leave a comment, it's drjamesbeckett@gmail.com, just all spelled out, DOCTOR, jamesbeckett@gmail.com. And again, on the National Sports Collectors Convention front, don't miss it next year, even though it's in Atlantic City. Completely different venue, but an interesting venue nonetheless. Surprises, it's now been 3 weeks of podcasting, I guess. So there haven't been big surprises. I'm not surprised that Rich Klein is a star, that people are enjoying him. I don't mind being second chair when Rich is here, because Rich has some great stories. And not only that, he helps me. If people just tell me, hey, tell me a story, it's too broad. But if they say, hey, what about this? I say, oh, that reminds me of a story. So we're trying to be responsive. And so if you've got questions, email us. No huge surprises on the episodes. The episode 0 I thought would be interesting. It was a good way to start. The why episode, that's the most listened to episode. And I think I've made a case that it's, again, people are asking me, but I don't really want to do a book. I don't really want to do a blog. But I wouldn't mind having a dialogue with collectors and starting it off with some monologues, as well as some discussions and conversations with friends and future friends. I've got great sponsors. As I said, I interacted on some level with all of them. Chris Carlin at Upper Deck, we're going to set up a future interview, visited with him. The Upper Deck booth was hopping the whole time. Tops, same thing. Tops wins the award for the noisiest booth with my friend Alan Nars, who I saw there. We'll have him on a future episode. And Susan Lajadai, that will, again, we don't have it exactly set up, but we're going to talk to her about what's going on with Tops and Tops Now and some of the initiatives they have that they're excited about, are doing well. Panini, I've got so many friends there, bumped into a few of them. Again, they do a great job. They've always got big promotions that are very well received. They make a big splash at the National as well. Heritage, they're in my backyard, so bumped into Chris Ivey several times. He's going to come over in a couple weeks, and we'll sit down and do something that's less rushed, and also get together with some of his team. Huggins and Scott, Bill stopped by there. Was joking with Bill. Their latest catalog, I just did it, and that episode is already out. And Bill and I are buddies from way back. Mike Stadium Sport Cards had an extended conversation with Mike. You'll hear from him perhaps later this week. It's his first national, but we recorded some episodes that we'll play back, and he's just doing a great job. And he's a servant leader. He's leading by serving many of the other local card shops that listen and find him a source of wisdom and experience that he willingly shares. And I'm delighted to give him a platform for that. Rob Veras, Burbank Sports Cards, recorded a couple episodes with him. Rob is amazing in the way he attacks the show floor, and I'm trying to be, I'm a version of that in my own way that's fun for me. So Rob and I compare notes about what's out there on the show floor, and you got to get there before he gets there, because he generally will buy the table out for many of these dealers who are pleased to see him. He makes them an offer, and they many times accept, even though it's a discount. But he's in it for a business as well. And the Beckett Media popped in on the grading guys, and they're just heads down. They're just amazing. They just can stay focused and concentrate. It's a tough job. The Beckett Authentication looked like they were just slammed as well. Again, that's a good thing. And ComC visited with Tim Getch, actually bought some cards at the National, and was able to just submit them immediately to ComC, and then I don't have to worry about bringing them home and then shipping them out there. So they do I think Rich was telling me they perhaps set a record this year for the most cards they'd received. Oh, I just realized I forgot to spin the prize wheel. They have a prize wheel there, and I forgot. But again, I had a terrific show. I got to see most of the people that I wanted to see. I got to be roaming around a little bit, seeing what's there. I'm not a price guy anymore, but I am familiar, obviously, with prices. So I'm wandering the show and seeing that, kind of like in the old days, seeing what's for sale. But nowadays I can sit down and think, hey, that looks interesting. That's something that I might want to look through. And it's hard to explain, but for decades, I could, it was like read only in a file. I could touch, I could look, but I disciplined myself not to buy even when something was a really good deal. But now when I see something, it's a really good deal, or it's something that's, some local interest of something I can show to my friends who pop in here. That's great as well. So I think, in the interest of staying under 15 minutes, I'll stop there. I may do a little bit more. I do want to give a little bit of this is mostly a recap of the National, which, as I said, is a don't miss event. And next year, again, the nice thing about next year, it'll be in Atlantic City. And the good thing is there'll be a bunch more East Coast dealers who always have some wonderful stuff. So it's always a great time. I actually stayed a little bit longer this year, and I will do that again next year. So again, hats off to John Brogy and Dan Burkus and their team. And again, you shouldn't miss it. So I will be back tomorrow, and I'll give you guys some chance to hear a summary of the feedback that I received at the National about this podcast, so you can sharpen your listening ears. Again, thanks again. Talk to you tomorrow. So long. The man in the house of cards is doing